Welcome to the Two Pages Project, part of the Coil Entertainment Network. I'm your host, Rob Steele. And let's get straight to it. In this week's story, we find Lieutenant Cooper Wright on the set of a rap video that has gone horribly wrong. Not only is there a murder on the set, but the story is called All in a Day's Twerk. Trust me, the story's better. Now here's an industry I hadn't given any thought to in a few years. Music videos. I wasn't sure they were still being made. Once MTV stopped playing them back in the 90s, I didn't think there was much called for it. MTV turned into some reality show channel. VH1 started showing documentaries and movies. BET started showing both. What's left? Where do you show these anymore? I mean, is it that big a thing on the internet? Actually, I guess everything is big on the internet. And sooner or later, when there's something big going on, something is going to go wrong. Very wrong. And that's usually when I get called out. There was what appears to be a drive-by at a music video shoot. The rappers, Mixie Max and Sugar Bling, are fine. But one of the dancers, Mallory Oliver, isn't. Pronounced dead at the scene, which isn't where I would have initially guessed. Give me 100 chances, and I probably wouldn't have come up with the Splashtown Water Park as a setting for a rap video. Especially in November. It's a bit cold out there. Nevertheless, that's where I find our coroner, Dr. Song Ho Young, and his assistant, Henry Ruth. A quick consultation confirms the eyewitness cause of death. Mallory Oliver was unlucky enough to catch 3 of the shots. Looks like they were from an AK-47, but that's just me eyeballing it. I'll have ballistics get back to you. One of the other dancers, a term I use loosely for reasons I will explain momentarily, caught a shot in the arm, but has been taken to the hospital and she'll be fine. As I understand it, and also view it on the video playback, the rappers Mixie Max, a homegrown artist, and his special guest Sugar Bling were doing well, I'm not sure if duet is the right word, but it'll do, in the foreground while 7 scantily clad women twerked in the background in front of a waterfall. Twerking not really being a dance in my mind, thus the earlier comment. This section of the park has a chain link fence separating it from the parking lot. The witnesses say that a brown sedan tore through the lot and the driver fired an automatic rifle at the performers. One pass and then gone. No one got a license plate number, and they were too busy taking cover to get a good look at the driver. Security at the water park was minimal. None of the regular security guards were there since the park is closed for the winter. It turns out that half the security cameras don't work either, although that did come as a surprise to the park's owner Bobby David, whose only real contribution to the case was to say that he just rented out the park. We had to get that statement over the phone as he's spending the off-season in Jamaica. That sends up a red flag for me, and I make a note to have someone look over his guy's financials. This water park can't be making enough for him to spend the winter there. Although it is a decent enough alibi for the murder, unless he hired someone to do it. I need to talk to our rappers and see if they have any decent input. The first I come across is Mixie Max. He looks too much like the stereotypical rapper. Baggy jeans, t-shirt, big gold chain, absurdly large sunglasses, baseball cap with the word Max written across it with 3 X's. Hey man, don't make this take too long. I need to talk to the press, yo. My sales is gonna go through the roof, baby. I'm so glad you were able to show such compassion for the young woman who was killed, I want to say. Fortunately for my job's sake, it comes out as, we need to know if you know anyone who would want to kill you, Mr. Max. No, sir. I'll admit to knowing very little about you or your music, but I know your parents didn't name you Mixie Max. I will need your real name for the report. Yo, man, my name is Max with 3 X's. Put that in your report. He tries to get in my face and square off with me. Luckily for both of us, his manager, Larry DeForest, and the other rapper, Sugar Bling, steps between us. Somehow, the rather scrawny accountant-looking manager pushes Max back and tells him to wait in his trailer. Ms. Bling just stands between us and looks worried and apologetic. She also looks as though she'd been crying. A display, I'll have to admit, I wasn't entirely expecting.
You'll have to forgive him. He has an ego the size of Jupiter. Once he calms down, we'll get what we can out of him. In the meantime, I think you wanted to talk to me too.
She seemed sincere, and, if I'm honest, that's not what I was expecting either. She was dressed in a leather, I think the term is unitard. Lots of bling, but she was somehow different. She wasn't skinny like the dancers. If anything, she was borderline, I'll go with hefty. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just unexpected in this day when every celebrity seems to be promoting the skin and bones look. I do need to talk to you too. I eventually stammer, feeling a little uncomfortable with her closeness. Oh, it's not that she's unattractive, just the opposite, if anything. It's just that my wife would kick my ass if she saw her standing this close to me. Let's start with your real name.
Susan Thorpe.
She seems to sense my unease and backs off a little.
And as much as I'd like to tell you I saw something, I didn't. Didn't even see the car. I had my back to the lot and just dropped when I heard the shots. That's a horrible thing that happened to Mallory. I mean, I just met her today. We got her through the Chandler agency for the shoot. Ooh, sorry. That's not the way I should have phrased that. Excuse me.
She began openly crying. She turned and ran toward one of the trailers in the parking lot. I let her go. I'm not that good with crying women. I had seen the footage of what happened, and Miss Thorpe was, indeed, facing the other direction. At this moment, I'm actually surprised by the return of Mr. DeForest. I'm sorry about my client, Lieutenant. Wright, was it? He was trying to maintain his image, but really, inside, he's a pussycat and is really broken up about the death of Miss... I'm sorry, I've forgotten her name. He was doing good up until then. Oliver. Mallory Oliver? Yes, Oliver. We just gotten her this morning. Oh dear. How do we contact your family? What should we say? This part seemed genuine until I realized he was probably trying to cover up in case of a lawsuit. I explained that we have that part covered, but a gesture on his part might not be a bad idea. In the meantime, giving me some suspects might be a good idea. Oh yes, there are going to be a few. Max was in 2 gangs growing up. The Black Riders were his original gang, but the territory where he lived was taken over by the Onyx. As I understand it, they just incorporated the members. He continued for a while, but didn't really have much in the way of useful information. Nor did anyone else at the scene. I returned to the office to talk with Andy Kaczynski and the gang squad about the Black Riders and Onyx. Geez, really? I haven't heard about either of those in quite a while. The Riders were wiped out about 10 years ago. Onyx took most of the territory, and then most of the Onyx were wiped out by us. Remember that raid that went south about 5 years back? Yeah, that was them and us. I do remember that. Not a good situation. Supposed to be a drug bust, and there was illegal activity going on. But it wasn't drugs. It was arms. Turned the whole thing into a shooting match. We lost 7 officers that day. They lost more. It wasn't pretty. But if the Riders were gone, and Onyx was gone, where to go from here? There was something else nagging at me as well. Something about the footage. There were cameras on just about everything except the parking lot. But that makes sense. They want shots of the rappers and the girls and maybe the waterfall. I head to the video bay to watch the footage again. Mallory Oliver was on the end of the dance line, and she was closest to the parking lot. That's why we figure she got hit 3 times. But there's something about her that looks off. Then I finally find the camera angle that helps the most. There was a camera getting individual shots of the girls, and one showed Mallory just before the shooting. She was twerking, which is something my wife would not like me watching, but this is in the line of duty, when she turned and looked toward the parking lot and smiled. We got this all wrong. No one was after Mixie Max or Sugar Bling. They were after Mallory Oliver. This took the case in a whole new and surprisingly easier direction. I sent Detective Manny Vasquez to the Chandler Talent Agency to get more information on Miss Oliver. From that, we got an address, which we didn't have before, and went to check that out. Her apartment was in a decent part of town, but this particular complex was a bit run down. And in the parking lot, we got a magnificent surprise. As we pulled into the lot, we being myself and Manny, we see a brown sedan, a 1979 Datsun Bluebird of all things, packed to the brim with boxes and clothes, with the hood up and someone under it with an expression that is all too familiar to anyone who has ever had engine trouble. We park a couple spaces down and approach the man under the hood casually. He notices our approach and asks, "You guys know anything about cars?" "A bit," I answer, and joined him under the hood. "What seems to be the problem?" Manny makes his way around the car and sees something interesting in the passenger seat. A shell casing from an AK-47. Manny opened the door and collected the casing by sticking his pen in the open end and holding it up for me to see. The man under the hood saw Manny holding the rather incriminating evidence and panicked. "You guys are cops?" he managed to blurt before trying to stand upright from under the hood and run away. Well, I say run away. I've never seen anything like this before. He stood up from under the hood all right, but he caught the back of his shirt on the hood latch, and when he tried to run, it tangled his shirt and yanked him back toward the car, not only causing him to fall, but slamming the hood down on his hand where he tried to catch himself. We managed to extricate him from this predicament and take him downtown. Once we get him some medical attention for his hand and his ankle, which he apparently sprained in the fall, we find out a few things about him. For example, his name is Randy Stanton. Amidst the packing he did before skipping town, he did manage to pack the AK-47, which we found quite easily. He also claims he was Mallory Oliver's live-in boyfriend, and he was jealous of Mallory's success in dancing in rap videos. "She was becoming a rap whore, and I wasn't going to put up with it anymore. She was mine." After a minor tirade, Officer Walker took Mr. Stanton to booking to be processed. Along the way, Mixie Max made an appearance. He threatened Mr. Stanton with a lawsuit for trying to kill him, which I'm fairly certain would never stick. Manny stepped in and broke it up and eventually got Max and his posse to leave. I congratulate Manny on the way back to the office. "That was good work back there, Manny." "It was nothing, boss. There's something about that guy that's always bothered me, and getting to make him back down was a good feeling." Then something changed as we entered the homicide office. Suddenly Manny stopped. "Son of a beach!" I don't know that I've ever heard Manny talk like that. It doesn't sound right. Not that I have trouble saying things like that myself, as I'm sure you've noticed. But from Manny it sounds odd, almost like hearing it from a priest or something. Not that Manny's a priest. I give him a look, hoping he notices, and continues the thought. "That was Clarence Willingham." "Who?" "I went to school with him. That's what's been bugging me. I knew Max from somewhere." I'm a bit surprised. "Really? What was he like back then?" "You remember Urkel from that TV show?" That bad? Make him about 350 pounds. I'll give him this. He has lost a lot of weight. I give Manny a friendly jab in the arm. Nah, he just moved it to his ego. If you'd like to get your story on the show, just send it to us. Check out the website, 2pagesproject.com. That's the number 2. Pages Project uses letters. And there you'll find all the rules and all the information on how we'll take your short story and publish it first as an ebook on the website, then turn it into an audiobook on the podcast. And when we've got enough stories, we'll turn it all into an actual book that you can buy at a store. So if you'd like to submit your story, check out the website and then email it to contact@2pagesproject.com. We'll be open to any type of story you want to send us, not just mystery or horror, but sci-fi or historical or western or melodrama or romance if you feel the urge. Whatever you want to send us, just submit your story for the audiobook treatment and publishing on our website. Don't forget to pass the show around too, because that always helps, and subscribe to the show and all of the Coil Entertainment Network shows through iTunes or Pinterest or YouTube or the Google Play Store or anywhere you happen to find podcasts. While you're at it, check out the Coil Entertainment Network store. There's a link on the website. We've got t-shirts and hats that all go to support the network, so check that out. And if you're interested in your show's cover art becoming a shirt or a hat, let me know. I can arrange that. Also, if you're interested in being part of the audiobook process, use that same email address, contact@2pagesproject.com. So, until next time, be safe and keep writing.